Fatigue is not the enemy, but it's also something that we want to manage really well when it comes to training, rehab, and honestly, human health, right? So fatigue is essentially the exercise or activity-induced decrease in force production. At the end of the day, humans move via force production, and we do most of the tasks in life via force production. And there's a difference between cognitive fatigue and physical fatigue. I'm mostly talking about physical fatigue here. I will say that a lot of times when I'm cognitively fatigued, I'm still pretty physically capable. A lot of times the cognitive fatigue that we go through is just because we have to deal with a lot of mental and emotional problems. Whereas like physically we can feel okay despite those things. And honestly, going and moving and playing are often really good ways to kind of break that cycle of cognitive fatigue. But when it comes to managing fatigue and training, I think there's a really strong narrative right now that like, oh, you know, too much fatigue is like bad for you, right? And yeah, too much fatigue is bad for you, but you shouldn't avoid doing stuff with a little bit of fatigue, right? Most people are going to play and live with some amount of fatigue, right? Now, when it comes to training, you do want to set yourself up well to express force pretty well on any given day, right? Despite the constraints of your program or your season or your life. So what I mean by that is if you know that you're going to do like a sprinting session on a Tuesday and you want to get the most out of that sprinting session, there's two big options. The first is just not to care that much and just go put forth really good effort. And I think that's a really good strategy. The second thing you can do is just make sure that whatever you do on Monday doesn't fatigue you from a lower body physical readiness standpoint, that you can go actually sprint pretty hard. So that might mean shifting your Monday training from like a heavier squat day or Olympic lifts or something like that to an upper body oriented day, right? Doesn't mean you can't do some full body work or some accessories there, but if you want to demonstrate a lot of power on that Tuesday and get the most out of that session, then it helps to just set up your training week in a way that is advantageous to that, right? Now, accumulating fatigue, dissipating that fatigue, and then, you know, starting your training is what training's really all about. At some point, you become more physically capable, and you're going to build up fatigue as you become more advanced, and then you got to learn to dissipate that as well. But I don't think people really get fatigue in such a way that they don't understand how to structure training or how to go about making training relatively efficient, or they think that like, oh man, I'm kind of beat up and tired and sore, you know, I shouldn't train at all. Well, that doesn't necessarily mean you shouldn't train. It means that you should adjust your training appropriately, because at the end of the day, to do more work, to get better at doing more work, you have to do more work. And I don't want people to like do less. I want people to do things better, right? And understanding fatigue and understanding the fact that fatigue is a normal byproduct of good training, and that managing it well is something that you can do, but also you don't have to worry about it too much. If it's not affecting your performance or your appetite or your ability to sleep, if you're not really overtraining and overreaching, then these waves of up and down, you know, performance deviations are not because you're fatigued. It's just normal, it's just normal waves of being a human and training hard. Now, if you consistently see a dip in performance, you do want to investigate fatigue. Like, you know, is this just too much? And that's when it's a good thing to take a step back, really evaluate things, and be real and objective with yourself. Sometimes we are just doing too much and it's hindering the progress we want to make. Keep the goal. Don't beat the crap out of yourself for the sake of beating crap out of yourself. If you're making progress in the direction of your goals, great. But if you're just hammering yourself and not making progress and you feel like crap and you're starting to get injuries, that's when you really want to take a step back and reevaluate. So don't be afraid of fatigue. Fatigue is a normal and good part of the training process. Be wary of excess fatigue. That's the thing you want to manage. And that takes, honestly, a lot of practice and good decision making to really figure out what do you want to keep in your program, what we should take out, and where we ultimately want to go. That's all I got for today. Appreciate it. Peace.